right, we are 9 days away from the UK elections kicking off on July the 4th. There's new projections from YouGov which show, well, rather would actually give consternations to the Tory party. So this is what we're looking at. Labour to gain 200 seats. That's Keir Starmer there, the leader. The projection was as of June the 19th. In the June 3rd projection, they were projected to get 194 seats. If it becomes true, it will be the second largest majority since World War II. Let's take a look at what they're projecting as far as the seats for the different parties. So we got Labour projected to get about 223 seats, something not seen, I think, since Tony Blair, 425 there. Conservatives would lose 267. You have the Liberal Democrats gaining about 56 seats, Scottish National Party losing 28 seats, Reform, who didn't even exist before this period, gaining seats as well, and the Green Party there +1. Very, very interesting. We're happy to have, to talk about this, John Todd, who is the founding head, Director of Education at CharterHouse Lagos. John, thank you so much for being with us. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
We got to talk about CharterHouse Lagos. You're opening up in September. We're going to get to the education, but John, you are a wealth of knowledge on so many things. So I have to get your thoughts on what you're seeing here. So to kick things off, John, the polls, you remember what happened with Brexit and how we all thought that Remain was ahead of the polls, and then
how could it happen?
Right. So are the polls getting ahead of themselves, or how do you see things?
I actually don't think so. Everything I see and I hear is that people are basically fed up with the government. There's a general lack of trust of politicians. What went on with Liz Truss didn't help. I don't think Brexit is necessarily a factor. It's clearly a factor in bashing our long-term GDP. But yeah, I think the Conservatives are going to lose big time, and we'll see a Labour government in 1 or 2 weeks' time.
Wow. So just to reiterate, this is not Rishi Sunak as an individual. It's really the party over the last few years.
I think it's a bit of both, because if you look at both Rishi Sunak and Keir Starmer, they're not really those sort of big personality politicians. I see them as technocrats. When we had people like Margaret Thatcher, Tony Blair, David Cameron, who are much more performers, or Lord Cameron as he is now, these guys are much calmer, much quieter, much more private people. And no, I think this is people looking and saying the Conservatives really haven't done a particularly good job. We really don't trust them. It's time for a change.
Gotcha.
And we've had Conservative government for quite a long time.
Yeah.
Often they're in for 10 years, and then there's a big change.
Yeah.
That seems to be where it's at.
Looking at the UK economy, I know you spend a lot of time in Nigeria with the school here and the opening, but I also know you spend some time in the UK as well. Grocery inflation falling to a level not seen, I think, in a couple years. I think 4.5% or so, 4 weeks to March. Also, we had year-on-year inflation finally touching the 2%. Bank of England, the 2%. Yep. So, but for you as a shopper, as a consumer, it's been said that people don't really feel that. So, what's your experience?
It's crazy still, and the reality of 2% is it's just going up more slowly.
Yeah.
So 2% is still a rise. Okay, we're told that's healthy. The price rises on everything. I can compare it to Nigeria.
Of course.
That's really scary.
Yeah.
But back in the UK, everything is just more expensive. And of course, over the last few years, when we've had higher inflation, salaries haven't kept up.
Right.
So things cost more. We have less to pay for it with. And you feel the pinch. You notice that, you can't buy as much. Your money doesn't go as far. It really worries me. The prices still seem to go up. And even though we're saying 2%, your grocery inflation is still higher.
Right.
And what do we worry about? Things like petrol, the price of a loaf of bread. That's no different to here.
Right.
That's still what costs us on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. Okay, so I do want to get to education. That is, your field. But of course, like I said, you've got a wealth of knowledge, everyone. We covered the debates, the first debate between Starmer and Rishi Sunak. I do want you to take a listen to what they said.
I didn't watch it.
So we're gonna play a clip of what they said about education. All right, quite contentious there, and a whole lot discussed. And very entertaining. We broke down the entire thing. What's your thoughts on what you've heard, and I guess the UK's education sector right now?
I mean, there's a whole big issue around the UK borrowing is the highest in 60 years or something, according to the Institute of Financial Studies. There's massive gaps in public funding. There's a UK teacher shortage, and that's down to it's not a great place to work. If you're an assistant teacher, you get more money stacking shelves. Great. Recruit 6,500 more teachers, and what was it? Rishi Sunak was doing the same for police officers.
Right.
20,000 or however many. And it hasn't happened because either the people aren't there or the job is just not worth doing for the money that they pay. So I don't think it's realistic to say we can just find 6,500 teachers, because jobs in teaching, the vacancies are at their highest level ever in the UK. That's causing problems here because they're trying to recruit teachers now.
Right.
So saying we're going to recruit 6,500 more, where do they come from? We already lose more teachers every year and have for quite a few years than we produce in the UK. So we're not sending enough people through the teacher training system. So in reality, that's a non-starter.
Yeah.
The whole private school issue, it's a vote winner.
Right.
A lot of people like the idea. Now, I look at it and I think, and we work with a UK independent school.
Right.
Both of those guys went to fee-paying schools. Keir Starmer went on a scholarship to a fee-paying school. Rishi Sunak went to a really great traditional English public school. So these people have already paid tax. That goes into the government. They don't use it. They pay, again, a second time for their education. A lot of those people are just affording it. School fees have continued to go up. Many of the people accessing these private schools want small classes because their kids have special needs. There's tens of thousands of kids with special needs because they can't get that in the state sector. So we put 20% on. Schools will absorb some of the costs. I've got 2 children in independent schools, and we keep saying, this is how we're going to absorb some of the costs. Even if it's 10% off, 10% extra, and the school absorbs 10%, it's going to drive people out of independent schools. Right. Independent schools are closing in the UK every week. The biggest concentration is in the south. The lowest concentration of available places in secondary schools is in the south. So where are these children going to go?
Right.
There aren't the places for them. We keep being told there's enough spaces. I really don't think there are enough spaces. If that space isn't in their local area, they have to be transported. That's just another cost. So it seems to be, it's a policy that will garner them votes. Partly it feels a little bit of the politics of envy. We can't have it. And to me, I would like to see them looking and saying, this is what's really good about private schools. What can we learn from it? How can we draw them into more positive partnerships? There are some great examples of private school partnerships with state schools. Let's look at what they do really well and learn from that in the state sector. It feels they're just penalising parents. Yes, it's a tough decision. Is it going to raise the money? I suspect not. I don't think they've done any proper costing of it. But these are politicians, they see a great idea and they're thinking, well, let's run with this.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the breakdown. I know we wanted to focus on education, but I did want to ask you about the NHS, because they talked about healthcare. What about the issues in the healthcare sector there? Because that's a big election topic as well.
Again, it goes back to we seem to want to spend more money than we earn in the UK. Massive public borrowing issues. I've tried a number of times in the UK to get an appointment with my local GP, 2 to 3 week waiting list.
Oh, wow.
That's just my experience. It'll be different to everyone else. It's very, very difficult. And increasingly people are having to go private to be able to be seen by a doctor. So, again, let's recruit more doctors.
Yeah.
To train a doctor, it takes 6, 7, 8 years, I don't know.
Right.
A pretty long time to recruit a doctor. So we can't suddenly just pick up a few thousand more doctors. They don't exist. This is a 5-10 year sort of plan that they've got to develop. Or they go out to Nigeria, India, wherever. Where are the doctors where they can get for less money and try and bring them in? And of course, there's knock-ons for everybody else.
Right, because we have a doctor shortage here as well.
and a teacher shortage.
Right.
Was it Ghana that had the nurse shortage? Because we were taking those.
Yeah. Wow.
So underneath, again, where does the money come from? Because we also have an aging population in Britain. So healthcare is going to cost more and more and more. And our health system seems to focus on plugging the gaps rather than preventative care. So, and I'm not going to try and quote figures or anything,
right.
But I've seen numbers where they say, if you spend this much now on preventing, let's say, alcohol abuse at an early age or stopping smoking, the amount you save in 10, 20 years is enormous.
Right.
But the answer seems to be, well, let's get more doctors to treat the symptom rather than solving the problem, the root cause of the problem.
Yeah.
And I don't think that is a Labour Party thing. I think that is a general political thing. We're not tackling the root problems or the root causes of these issues. And underneath, we want to keep spending more money, and it's just not there. We have massive problems in the UK in social care. So we've got people growing older. The cost of carers is huge. We're not looking after our old people well.
Yeah.
Because it's too expensive. So again, we're trying to bring people in from outside. But there simply isn't the money in the economy to keep doing this.
Wow. John,
it's a struggle.
It is, and this is why we brought you on the show, because I knew you had so much to say on this, and it's just such informative information. So Labour has a challenge going forward when they win. There's a lot to.
I kind of get the feeling that people think the Labour Party and the new government will come in
and fix everything,
flick a switch,
right.
And it will change. And the reality, I was reading on BBC Today. That's where I go for my news.
Yeah.
About the UK, I'm basically saying there's just big holes in public finances. So they're not going to flick a switch and solve all the problems tomorrow. And I think what Keir Starmer has been very effective with is bringing the Labour Party back to the centre.
Yeah.
When I look at UK politics, which is left, which is right, it's very hard to know.
Right.
They're both very central, very business focused, very sensible partners at the end. These two guys are very technocrats. They're smart people.
Yeah.
Keir Starmer is not going to do anything irresponsible. We saw that with our lady Liz Truss and her Chancellor. When was that? That was quite recently, a few years ago. It seems like a long time back.
Yeah.
So he's not going to be able to come in and spend lots of money unless he raises taxes.
Right.
He doesn't want to raise taxes. That would be the Labour Party, I think, of the past, where they come in, they raise taxes, the Conservatives come in, they lower taxes.
Right.
I don't see there's a huge difference. I don't think we're going to see... We'll see a change of flavour rather than a change of policy in a huge way, because they don't have the room to do it.
John, I really appreciate the knowledge, and it's fascinating. We'll be covering it all. We will see how it all unfolds. 9 days to go for the election. All right, so let's bring things now to Nigeria on the education front. So CharterHouse Lagos still opening up September.
Absolutely,
yeah,
100%.
Yeah,
yep. I'm at the site every week, and the progress is fantastic. Yes,
awesome, and of course, giving folks an option to save on foreign exchange rather than sending their kids overseas, right? Now. Fees. Can you clear something? We were just talking about fees just now in the UK. So, what's happening? Can you clear? There's been I saw some blogs, some news about fees,
it was entertaining. It was entertaining, and I think at one point we were called the most expensive school in the world.
Right.
Those are in Switzerland at about $100,000 a year or more. So, would be nice, but not even close. I look at UK school fees. Similar types of schools, you're talking £45,000 to £50,000.
Gosh, wow, that is just eye-watering.
It is. So we're looking at around the 25 million mark.
Okay,
is the reality.
Okay,
of where our fees are.
So the news saying the higher amounts are incorrect. They're not.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. So yes, there was something posted on our website, but what it didn't look at was the discounts and the other schemes that we're running to make it more affordable and more accessible to people.
Yeah. So, and you still have, talk to us, there's still expansion plans down the line as far as the school is concerned?
Absolutely. So we're looking at primary school this year, next year, year 7, year 8 is our intention. We're working with the Ministry of Education in Lagos. We're getting some good support from commerce, business. So Lagos State is being very, very helpful, helping us to move through the various challenges. The school building is moving forward.
Right.
We're getting a lot of good interest. Interestingly, we are getting quite a lot of interest from Nigerians in the UK.
Well, how about that?
Reverse Japa.
Yeah.
Because, part of what we always wanted to do was to help make Nigeria a place where people could do business. Mm-hmm. What are the challenges? We've got things like healthcare and education as key challenges. So there are some increasingly good hospitals. We bring that international education piece. That means those Nigerians that have gone abroad because of those issues, it's here. Yeah. So come back, do your business here, contribute to the economy. Likewise, we are contributing to the economy in terms of training teachers. So many people we're employing from the local community, and our standards are very high. Yeah. There's lots of training. So we feel we're able to put a lot back into the local community and develop so many people. It's not just education. Teachers are a tiny part almost of the people we employ.
Right.
If you look at facilities, security, catering, gardening, all of these things, that's all part of what we're doing to put money back into the Nigerian economy.
Yeah. I'm drawing you into too many national issues. The former President Buhari said this is during the Eid public holiday, said that Nigeria's population is getting out of hand, right? The former President Jonathan also tried to he tried to flirt with a child cap, but they got some blowback. John, you have 2 children, right?
I have 3.
3, excuse me. Thank you for correcting me. You have 3. and you just talked about the UK having an aging population. What is your view on
and I worked for 10 years in China.
Yeah, okay. Well, okay, fantastic. Personal responsibility, population, because look, our pupil to teacher ratio is really high.
Yes.
Well, I don't get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, and if you look at the numbers of how many young people are coming through the system, youth unemployment.
Right.
I think there is most definitely an onus on the government, on NGOs, on public organizations to educate people to make sure they are responsible when they are planning their families.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it is an economic decision. If you're looking at, and China is a great example, people are not having more than 1 child because they can't afford the childcare costs. So they are actually looking and saying, what does it cost to raise a child these days? And I think that's a useful message to Nigerians. I'm not saying stick at one child,
Right.
but have a think. How much can I give each child if I have 2 or if I have 3? You know, for us, we have 3 children. Is it easy? No, I come from a family of 4 children.
Right.
My parents went without a lot of things. Now, I'm not going to go into Rishi Sunak's I missed out on Sky TV.
Right. You saw
It was
that.
never that bad.
Yeah.
But my mum went without stuff all the time. Now, I think the economics these days are different, but it is an expensive business, bringing up children. And any parent wants to give their children the best.
Right.
Always, the best of everything. And now it's not just about school fees, it's the after-school clubs. The cost of the new phone.
Right.
Now, if I have to get 3 new phones, or my wife decides we're getting 3 new phones, and then asks me, and she's already bought them at that point,
right.
it's really scary. So it's all those other bits, I think, now that really add to it. We want to send our kids to summer schools. We want them to do all these extras at weekends. My kids do acting classes at weekends. Now, there's a cost to that, but there's the cost to the transport. It's all of these other things because we just want to give them the best opportunity in as many areas as we can. And if you have 4, 5, 6 children, I look at it and think, well, how?
Right.
How can you share your resources that far?
Yeah.
So absolutely, I would encourage people to be responsible, to make good choices, to think about family planning in advance, and anything the government can do or other organizations can do to work with people on that. Yes, there should be freedom of choice. You know, I've seen the other side of that in China. And I can also look at my own family. If I go back 2 generations, my granddad was one of 14.
Oh, wow.
Which, so he was born in, I think, 1900. 100 years ago, no, that's 125 years, 24 years ago.
Yeah.
It wasn't that unusual. So I think probably as the economy grows, numbers shrink, family numbers shrink.
John Todd, head of school, CharterHouse Lagos. It's just an absolute pleasure having your thoughts on so many of these issues. Thank you so much. Really, and we're going to invite you back because we have to keep you because you enlighten us so much when you come on the show. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.